Welcome back to Rule of Thumb. Today we're going to talk about quick breads. Quick breads do not involve yeast or waiting for the bread to rise. They simply involve combining the ingredients, and the combination of baking soda and or baking powder is what will cause the bread to rise. I have been working on a recipe for many years that is a very adaptable recipe. As you've seen in my past videos, I do like things that are adaptable and can change on the fly based on the ingredients I have on hand. So this recipe is exactly that. Today I'm going to make zucchini bread, but as I go through the recipe with you, I will give you some of the suggestions on changes that you can and cannot make. I will also try and put the recipe in the description box below. As you know, I'm new to this, so I'm still trying to figure everything out, but I will talk about it as we go through the video. What we're going to do from here is I'm going to get all the ingredients together, and then I'll bring it back and we'll put it together and get it in the oven. Okay, so we're back. We've got all the ingredients together, so we're going to go through these one by one. We're going to talk about some of the things you can and can't do as far as substitutions, and then how we're going to proceed from there. So the first thing we're going to start out with is I have here 1 cup of applesauce. Now, I use applesauce instead of oil just because I feel it's a healthier option. It is absolutely not necessary. You could substitute even amount, 1 cup of any oil of your choice. But I like the applesauce. I like the moisture it gives, and it makes me feel a little bit better about eating it. So, you know, it is what it is. So we're going to combine that with 3 eggs. And I've got 2 1/4 cups of sugar here. So I got the eggs. I guess you can see those 3 eggs, 2 1/4 cups of sugar. We're going to combine those, get those all mixed together. Now, sugar-wise, I've used white sugar. I've used the pure cane sugar. I would imagine you could mix white and brown if you want, although I've never done that because I don't really feel the need for the sweetness. So, 2 1/4 cups of sugar. Alright, then what I got here in this bowl is I have got 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. That is a no change part of the recipe, so you always got to have 1 teaspoon of each in there. I also have 1 teaspoon of salt. As far as I'm concerned, the salt is necessary to bring out the sweetness in the recipe. If you really are trying to go no sodium at all, I would imagine you could leave it out, but it might alter the flavor slightly. What I have here is I have 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice and 1 teaspoon of ginger. Now, these warm seasonings are something you can vary widely. I've used cinnamon and nutmeg. I've used cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger. I've added allspice in there. So really any combination up to 3 teaspoons of any warm spices work well but you want to consider what you're adding as far as fruit and or vegetable is. So that's where this measuring cup comes in. So you always want to have 2 cups of what I consider an added. What I have here is I had some grated zucchini in the freezer, and when I thawed it out, it was a little less than 2 cups, so I added a little bit of applesauce to it to bring it up to the 2 cup mark. I have used zucchini. I have used shredded carrot. You do have to shred it finely. I have used canned pie filling, apple, blueberry, lemon. I've used whole fruit, like canned fruit, like mandarin oranges, cherries, those types of things. It really is a very forgiving recipe. You just want 2 cups of a moist add-in. I know that's a word that most people can't stand, but it's the only word that accurately describes what you're looking for. So 2 cups of an add-in. And then what I have here is 3 cups of flour. I have used all-purpose. I've used self-rising. I've used bread flour. What I have here today is a white whole wheat flour. So again, super forgiving. The last thing you see here, I have 1 cup of walnuts. Nuts are a plus or minus. Some people like them, some people don't. Sometimes I add them, sometimes I don't. You could also do chocolate chips, peanut butter chips. You could do coconut. I mean, the possibilities are really endless, and I've tried pretty much everything. I will say if you're going to use any type of chip, whether it be chocolate chip, peanut butter chips, butterscotch chips, any of those types of things, when I use those, I mix them in with my flour to coat them with the flour, which helps them to more evenly distribute in the batter. So just a little secret tip there. So that's the cast of ingredients. What I'm going to do from here is I'm going to combine the 1 cup of applesauce, the 2 1/4 cups of sugar, and the 3 eggs. I'm going to use the whisk attachment on my KitchenAid stand mixer, and I'm going to let this go for a few minutes until it's light and frothy, and I'll bring you back so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, and we're back. So I have had this in my mixer here for a couple minutes. I just want to kind of bring you in. I'm not sure how well you can see if I tip this way. So that's really what we're looking for, just for it to be well incorporated, get some air in there, kind of light and frothy. You see there's some bubbles on the top of there. I think you can see that. So that's where we want to be with that mixture. From here, what we're going to do is mix in all of the dry ingredients, so our flour and all of our spices and the salt and the baking powder and the baking soda, and get that well incorporated, and then I'll bring you back so you can see where we're at. I just wanted to bring you back real quick and just mention what I do, if you can see here with the flour, is I put all of my dry ingredients in there, all of my spices and everything, and I used a whisk and I whisked it up. What I find is this just makes sure that it's evenly distributed. You won't end up with any lumps or anything that's not evenly mixed. So I just thought I'd bring you back and show you that, and now we're going to get this mixed in with the egg mixture, and I'll bring you back. Okay, we're back. So a couple things I wanted to mention that I should have probably said in the beginning. I did get my oven started preheating to 375. It's always best anytime you're going to bake anything, first thing you do, turn your oven on. That way, by the time you're ready to put it in the oven, your oven's at the temperature you need it to be, and you're not waiting to get things in the oven. So the oven is heating up to 375. The other thing I wanted to mention is when you're using a KitchenAid mixer, if you're using a KitchenAid mixer, make sure that you're pausing as you're mixing to scrape the sides of the bowl, unless you have the scraper paddle, but if not, make sure you're scraping the sides of the bowl, and that's what will ensure that everything's getting thoroughly mixed in. You can certainly do this with a hand mixer. You could even do this by hand. I don't, because I have a mixer, so that's what I'm using. But you can certainly do it any of those ways. So now we're at the point. Let's tip this up here. You can see it's a kind of a thick batter that's kind of holding on to the whisk at this point. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add in our zucchini applesauce mixture as well as our walnuts and get that all mixed in. Inevitably, I usually end up spilling half of this on me or on the counter, but this time it looks like I might have lucked out. It must be my lucky charm. So we got the zucchini in there and the walnuts in there. We're going to bring this back down and we'll let this mix for a minute, and then I'll bring you back when we're ready to put it in the pans. Okay, so we got everything together here. You see it's still a kind of a medium batter. So it's not so thick that you can't pour it, but it's not so thin that it's runny. So that's kind of right where you want it. If you feel your batter is a little too runny, you can add a little bit more flour. If you feel that your batter's so thick that it's not going to be a moist bread, you can add a little moisture, add a little water or a little juice, or I've even added coffee in the past, depending on what ingredients I have in there, like some leftover coffee. Any kind of a liquid you could add in to bring it back to this. But this is kind of the consistency you're looking for. So we're going to get our beater cleaned off here, which zucchini is always a fight, so I'm actually going to come back once I get this off of here. Okay, honestly, I probably should have left the camera running because I'm not sure, at one point I wasn't sure who was going to win that battle, me or the zucchini. It was pretty much a comedy of errors. But I did get most of it off of there. One of the other things I like to do is make sure I get my spatula all the way down to the bottom, just in case there's anything stuck to the bottom or any dry ingredients that's settled. Just give it one last thorough mix, make sure everything's mixed in. Then what we're going to do is we're going to grab our pans. I just use 2 8x4 loaf pans. I use the baking spray that has the oil and flour in it. You could certainly use anything you want to use. You could use Crisco and flour. You can use oil and flour. You could use butter and flour. Whatever you find is tried and true for your pans is what I recommend, but the light is a little shadowy here. But that's what I got. So I got 2 of these. I'm going to split this batter between these 2. I'm going to pop them into the oven for about 55 minutes. We'll come back and check. We're looking for a toothpick to come out clean, and that will determine if they're done or not. So I'll bring you back when we're to that point and show you what it looks like. Okay, so we had the bread in the oven for about 60 minutes. I actually got a little distracted, so they went about 5 minutes longer than I would have liked them to, but they're still perfect. They're going to be moist and delicious. I usually let mine sit in the pan for a minute and then take them out of the pan, and I like to tip mine on the side because otherwise I feel like the bottom doesn't let the heat out, so this is how I choose to let mine cool. So that is zucchini bread. Like I said, I'll try and get the recipe down in the description box. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, come back and see me soon, and as always, I hope you have a great day.